Good morning, Shavua Tov. We're going to discuss a very important halacha, and this is the halacha and more of obviously the obligation. Does one need to wear a kippah or not? So the first halacha is regarding when one is praying. When one is praying, there's an obligation, there's a prohibition to mention Hashem's name while one is bareheaded. We're obviously speaking about men. We're going to speak about specifically men this morning. It's a prohibition to mention Hashem's name when one is bareheaded, not wearing a kippah. This goes with prayer, this goes with brachot, this goes in any way, shape, or form at all. Now, we know the famous halacha that if one prayed Amidah, or made any blessing really, and then they realized afterwards that the kippah was not there, then it's fine. They don't need to redo. Now, if in the middle of prayer, in the middle of the blessing, we feel the kippah fall off, you can't just continue and say, I'll pick it up after. You need to get it and put it on then. But if you only realized afterwards, then your tefillah is a tefillah, your beracha is a beracha. Similarly, it's brought down that one is not even allowed to walk 4 amot without wearing a kippah. This could be quite applicable even at home. It's also brought down, right with that halacha, that a person shouldn't even be sitting, waiting around what it takes to walk 4 amot, which is not that long, without a kippah, meaning bareheaded. So the obligation of wearing kippah is very stringent. It is obviously not a Torah obligation. It is a rabbinic obligation. It's a minhag, but it is something which has been accepted by all, and is something that we need to observe. More so, Chacham Ovadia Yosef brings down that if a person wears a kippah, it guards them from doing things that are inappropriate. People that wear a kippah understand that they are representing something which is loftier, which is more ethical, at least it's supposed to, and that will hold them back from going places they shouldn't go, doing things they shouldn't be doing. It also makes them part and shayach of that group which has accepted the Torah on them. It also could be an issue, as he brings down, of marit ayin. Could be that people that see a person who looks like they do everything, but they don't wear a kippah, others might think that they're not so diligent and they're not reliable, and therefore it is quite severe to make sure to all the time wear a kippah. We'll speak quickly just about sports. What about while playing sports, does one need to wear a kippah? So obviously for swimming is not a question. Person can't keep their kippah on when they swim. Is there an obligation to wear a bathing cap or a hat for swimming? There's absolutely not an obligation. Is it midat hasidut? Of course, it could be nice, but an obligation, absolutely not. For playing sports is a little more difficult. It's less, I would say, it's less lenient than swimming. For sports, again, ideally one should put kippah clips on wearing a kippah or a baseball hat. But if it doesn't stay on and it's not possible to play the sport while keeping it on, then one can take it off while playing, even while they are outside. Again, it's not ideal. When it comes to doing martial arts, for example, where it's impossible to put the kippah on with clips or a baseball hat or anything, then it's like swimming. You would be able to go bareheaded, obviously. Next question is, what about when one has to go to court, to the regular civil court? And it would be a fact that if they would wear a kippah, it would be in their discredit. It would go to their discredit. Assuming. But imagine it would be assuming and very... a very good reason to know that it would be. Then a person is allowed to go bareheaded and even allowed to think of divrei Torah while they are waiting. Again, is that the right thing to do? Is that not the right thing to do? Again, it depends the case. It depends the scenario. However, that halacha is brought down. Last halacha, one, for example, like us, who does always wear a kippah, is allowed to greet someone who at that moment is not wearing a kippah, even by saying shalom. And you know that he's going to answer you back, shalom, shalom aleichem, aleichem shalom. Even though shalom is one of God's names, one is still allowed to greet an individual who's not wearing a kippah with that manner, because it's obviously in form of greeting. He also brings down that on the opposite, since you're mentioning God in the conversation, it could be a way to bring him closer and to hopefully that he will also commit himself more towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, it would be allowed to greet someone even with the word shalom when they're not wearing a kippah. Question.
Does a hat or a baseball cap replace a kippah, or do you have to wear both?
Very good question. Does a hat or anything else replace a kippah? The answer is yes, it does. The idea is that the head has to be covered while, meaning all the time, and all the more so during prayers and.
Kippah was the replacement.
Kippah chazak. Kippah is the replacement of a turban. Anybody who would like to wear a turban instead of a kippah is more than welcome. But the concept is to have your head covered. Okay? Yeah.
Maybe it's for another day, but what is the reason why the Chachamim put the kippah? Because it's and also
what's the reason? Okay, so there's a couple different reasons brought down. The main reason brought down is the idea of separating us and giving us the humility, the difference between us and Shamayim, to give us that idea that there is a higher level, that there is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That would be the main reason. On the other side, as we mentioned, it alludes to something. It's kind of like tzitzit almost. It's a garment that is worn, which reminds you and separates you from others who are not Jewish and not doing the proper.
Yeah, but kippah doesn't have kedusha like tzitzit.
Right, kippah has no kiddush at all. Tzitzit is from the Torah, and kippah is not. As we know, tzitzit is a discussion. Does it need to be visible, partly visible, completely hidden? This is something which is like a stamp. It's your right. How do you identify an individual? By their face. Everyone's hand looks quite similar, right? The face is the identity of an individual. The identity of an individual has a kippah right at the top, separating between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's like a stamp. You've committed yourself to an ethical and moral standard, which will prevent you, hopefully, from doing something inappropriate. Okay? Mincha Arvit all week long will be at 6:25 p.m. And that is all week long, 7 a.m. Shacharit for the rest of the week. We'll ask everyone to join us, if good, for Chok Israel.